It's great to have him back coaching. I know you're a fan, King. It's great to have him back in the AFL system.
So injuries haven't been kind to the Saints already, but if Ross Lyon has his fingerprints on a team, then at least we can see consistent effort and competitiveness this year. Yeah,
well, that's right. I think for them to have played finals this year, they probably needed everything to go their way, and so far it's been anything but, led by Max King and a few other injuries to some of their senior players. It's been interrupted pre-season, as you heard Ross there talk to the umpire. So the umpire's been on the track more than some of his playing group. So it's going to be tough. But what he will do, he is there to figure out, I think, this year's a bit of a finding out year for the club and for the team, which players are part of the solution and will take this club forward to get where they want to get to, and which ones have been part of the problem, which ones aren't driving the standards and performing week in, week out at a consistently high level. That's what he'll sort out. He'll bring that, he'll demand that, and the ones that jump on board can take the club forward. So how many wins they're going to get, it's a hard one to judge. I think somewhere around that 8 to 10 mark. Hopefully they're knocking on the door of the top 8, but they're missing some key personnel. But I think you will see Ross Lyon's fingerprints with just the way they play this season.
Mm-hmm. This was a full club balls up, let's be honest. I mean, they aim to get back into the finals rather than get back to being in premiership contention. Those drafts of, what was it, 18, 19 or 20, they fattened the list, but not with guys that were going to take them to the promised land. Some of them are still there. Some of them cost a lot of financial grief with their salary cap. So it will be a regression to then go forward again, and with a year of intel of who those players are likely to be. I've got great confidence in Ross, in Rob Harvey, in Corey Enright, Damien Carroll, Lenny Hayes, Brendan Goddard. I mean, you're not going to get a better crew than that to educate these young players who may not be up to it for the first 24 months, but they're going to get the best education for life after that.
I think it's great. I had them written down as well, Kingy, in terms of the coaching structure is probably one of the strongest in the competition. And your assessment, Joey, is spot on. It's a year to find out who takes this club to where, Kingy mentioned before, in terms of taking that next step to play really strong finals footy, and that's the key. And I hope he gets to a few players, even the likes of Jack Steele, who's a gun, and adds a layer to his game. I hope Jack's not sitting there going, I'm at a level now. Hopefully Ross can grab him and take him to, a level he didn't even know existed in his football. And I think that's what we need to see from some of the senior core players that are on this list.
And I think that's what the club meant when they moved on Ratton. There is so much upside in so many of the players, from Hunter Clark and Nick Caulfield and even a Dan Butler and all these guys. There's still scope in nearly every single one of them to improve their football. So that's going to be the challenge. How many of them can get to their very best and help the club, and how many have just sort of, just a bit of a malaise through the club and plateaued with their development.
We like seeing Wanganeen Miller across half-back. I think that's his natural position. I know he's played a fair bit of wing, but that's, to me, where he can have the most influence. Gresham looks fit and healthy and
another one.
Right to have his best year. I'm a fan of Mitch Owens, and I know he's not a high draft pick. He's not one of potentially not selected to be one of the superstars, to be more like a Max Rook type, honest, hybrid forward. And he's only played half a dozen games of AFL footy. Had a tremendous pre-season, and he's just one of those guys that, when the chips are down and times are tough, is actually standing up.
Yep.
So I think he could become a bit of a cult hero for the Saints fans, and they're going to need some.
What do you think Ross's impressions are now of the season ahead? Because perhaps he learned a few things when he got into the club. You can go through all the meetings and the interviews, but until you're in the club and meeting people and working with people, perhaps it adjusts your expectations for the year ahead. Yeah,
I think so. He's just got to lift the whole standards around that football club. He's going to give a lot of leeway to those assistant coaches that you mentioned to come up with the game plan and game style, and he can be a bit more of a mentor role.
At what point will the AFL intervene here with a priority selection? Because when you look at their history over the last 10 years, 10th, 10th, 6th, 14th, 16th, 11th, 9th, 14th, 18th, 16th, they've been nowhere for so long. I think at some point the AFL will have to do similar to what they've done with the Kangaroos. You don't have to give them, pick one or pick two. Just some assistance with second round, third round type selections, because this list is meandering. It needs an injection. It needs the paddles.
It's hard when other clubs will just say, well, it's their own doing, the club where they're at.
It's always
their own doing. Yeah, true, you've said that.
It is.
Yep. Predictions?
I've got them to just miss.
Yeah, I think the same. Yeah, they'll be around that sort of 10th mark.
I think Ross will do a great job to get him out of the bottom four.
Yeah.